Hello everyone, this is Hakaym and welcome back to some more World of Warships, and today we are showing off the new Tier 8 IGN Premium Battleship, the Key. Oh my god, just look at her. She's so gorgeous. And if anyone has been watching my channel for a while now, knows I love my Amagi. And now I have a premium version of the Key. Now the Key is very similar to the Amagi in a lot of ways. She has 10 guns. Her firing range is a little bit shorter. Her AA is fantastic. But probably the most distinguishing feature, I guess you could say, as you saw at the very beginning there, I was messing with, she does have torpedoes. They are in the very stern of the ship. You can actually kind of see there. And also, can I say this camo is amazing? I love this camo, and that's why this video is actually out very late, due to the fact that I had to return the key that I purchased the first time in order to get the key loaded to get the special camo. So yes, I have a doozy of a battle for you today, and it's a really good battle. Two North Carolinas, Bismarck, Key, Fuso, New Orleans, Edinburgh, Indianapolis, Nuremberg, Milberton, Kiev, and a Mahan on the enemy team. North Carolina, Tirpitz, two Tirpitz, a Key, a Fuso, Edinburgh, Hipper, Algerie, two Clevelands, Benson, and a Bliskovica. Now there's going to be one single turning point in this battle, and I'm going to see if you guys can catch it, where essentially could have swung either direction. But anyways, first shot off at the Tirpitz, and I do run the spotting plane. Benefit of the spotting plane is, as you can see, getting that additional distance. And once again, the Amagi, yes, the Amagi does have better range than the Key, and the Key only has a 19.1 fire range versus the Amagi's at about 19.8. So you don't have that additional range that Amagi does have, as well as your detection's not as good as the Amagi's. And that can really play a big factor whenever you play this ship. Because while the Amagi has very good armor, very trollish armor, the Key does not. So you do have to be extremely careful whenever playing the Key. You do not want to show that broadside, or even a tiny bit of broadside. You can still get punished for it. So you do have to be extremely careful with the Key whenever you're showing off a broadside, or whenever you're engaging an enemy battleship. So we do have some of our teams. We're all pushing up north of the friendly cap, hoping to at least push into their base. There was a Bliskovica that was spotted, but at the moment not a lot of spotting is happening. Now we are currently spotted, and let's see, obviously it's going to be the Bliskovica, but I do have the spotting plane for about 6 more seconds. We're going to try to hit the Zipper. He is maneuvering quite heavily. Doubt this is actually going to land. Let's see. Can we get good damage roll? Overpen kind of went all around him. As far as I can tell, the dispersion is very similar to the Amagi. I'm trying to remember if it has a better or worse sigma value than the Amagi. I believe it has worse. Something tells me in my gut that it has worse. But dispersion's alright. It's very similar to the Amagi in a lot of ways. So once again, if you play the Amagi, you should fully be capable of playing the Key. And the Key is very fun. She's a good credit. Basically just prints out credits quite readily, and I'm hoping to get this Edinburgh. I'm hoping it'll be stupid, but I realize now that there is a North Carolina that is pushing up. So instead, I'm going to focus my attention on this Algerie, and this Algerie, oh, he's gonna regret coming this route. Let's see, salvo off, and not bad. One Citadel. Definitely lost a big chunk of health there. And yeah, he is regretting his life choices. Now, the New Orleans and the Indianapolis actually should have been firing AP there. I think they finally switched over to AP. So should take out this Algerie just fine. Good. So doing pretty well on this side. Took out their Algerie. We have lost one destroyer, which might bite us in the butt in the end. Bliskovica is finally spotted. Probably should have just tried to take him out, but I don't think he's going to be a big issue to us. And now let's try our luck at the Edinburgh. Once again, I really do like... Wow, look at that. That's nice. And I was thinking that the Algeria may have dropped torps. Yeah. Now, the one downside, as you did see there, we actually lost a good chunk of health, about 10,000 points of health there, plus flooding. The key does not have that good torpedo reduction that the Amagi does. It has nearly half the torpedo reduction compared to the Amagi. So, do be extremely careful. It's very, very similar to how the Royal British battleships, at least the Tier 7 is concerned. You don't have that really good torpedo protection. Alright, so enemy Fuso is spotted. Let's see. Honestly, whenever a Magi faces a Fuso, the Fuso just gets screamed. Starting to show us the broadside. Gonna be a little bit patient using this cover to the very best of my abilities. Angle is quite harsh, around 30 degrees, so we'll see if we can get a good penetration. Ah, there we go. 2 penetration, 3 over penetration, and incapacitation. So overall, not too bad. And our team's actually doing a really good job. We have taken out 2 of their cruisers and 1 of their destroyers. However, all 3 of those were all the way up here. And yeah, our team on the southwest is not going to be doing so hot. Now, keep an eye on this Cleveland. And I'm pretty certain it's this Cleveland that is going to be pretty much the deciding, spoiler alert, deciding factor of this game. You'll see. You'll understand what I'm talking about. Now, we have pushed quite heavily, almost all the way into their spawn. There is a Tirpitz and also that Fuso and also that Cleveland. Urgh. Really would like to take out this Cleveland. Gonna fire the front guns. Maybe we'll get a Citadel on this Cleveland. That would be nice. There we go. 1 Citadel. And I remember, correct me if I'm wrong, but I remember the Cleveland being extremely difficult to Citadel. I might be wrong on this. I might be entirely wrong on this, but I'm pretty certain the Cleveland used to be really, really difficult. I remember the old visuals that the Cleveland had where the Citadel was, and it was like the small little space below the turrets, something like that. It was ridiculous. Was hoping to take out that Cleveland, but unfortunately that is not going to be the case. And our friendly team, as you can see, has a Benson issue, and this Benson is currently just right next to our cap. And we do have a Mahan. Actually, I'm kind of curious how much. The Mahan's very low on health. Honestly, Benson versus a Mahan. Yeah, my money's on the Benson. It really, really is. Now, fortunately for us, we're not going to be able to take out this Benson. And the enemy team is starting to realize that we're actually starting to push into their cap. And they have a few ships coming back towards us. And honestly, I should just focus this Cleveland down. Oh my word. But I'm concerned about the Tirpitz. The Tirpitz is now pushing out. I'm pretty certain this Tirpitz was either a bot or just playing very, very poorly. Because he really hasn't moved very far from his spawn at all. Let's see. Can we get rid of this Cleveland? I'm pretty certain. There we go. Okay, so it's the other enemy Cleveland that you need to keep an eye on. Alright, so torpedoes, like I said, are decent. But just like, I would say just like the USN destroyers, you don't want to just rush in and try to use your torpedoes right off the bat. And here I'm becoming extremely indecisive. Alright, guns are fully reloaded, and Tirpitz broadside... Yeah, don't do this. Even though I can't Citadel you. 20,000 points of damage right there. But, however, if he did have a Citadel, that probably would have killed him off right then and there. Now, obviously, Tirpitz could drop torpedoes, so it's probably a very good idea just to get outside the 6-kilometer range, just in case that he decides to drop some more torpedoes. It looks like he has actually brought his attention to us. I do drop torpedoes, hoping against hope that we'll actually be able to land, but yeah, that's kind of foolish right there. Now, I will have to give props to the Indianapolis, and ooh, look at that, the Fuso in with a big salvo there. No citadels, but now we have this enemy Cleveland pushing in, and Fuso showing us a lot of broadside. Nice to take him out, but I think I aimed a little too far forward, and yeah, unfortunately did not delete him like I should have. Shame on me. Now, had I deleted him, I would not have been focused on trying to take him out, because he is getting pretty big salvos on me. I am showing a lot of broadside, and the armor once again on the Amagi is, well, it's left to be desired, to say the very least. Now, the enemy team has done a really good job. They have essentially taken out all our friendlies at that southwestern corner, and are now obviously starting to push back into their cap, because obviously, well, we're starting to cap it, and this is probably would have been a very good time to actually turn around and fall away. Because, yeah, we're not going to cap this in time. There's no way that we'll be able to full capture of the space while the enemy team's around. I am trying to get this guns reloaded so I can get shots off on this hipper. Would be nice. We do have the enemy Kyiv, and there's that nasty little Cleveland. Oh. Well, I don't want to spoil it too much, but just keep an eye on this Cleveland. I know I've said it multiple times. Now, as I have probably did mention that the AA on the key is really good. Unfortunately, this is just, we don't have a CV to really display it. I would say it's very comparable to the North Carolina in a lot of ways, but honestly, I think it's a very good time to get turned around. We have a Tirpitz, a key, and obviously that Cleveland and that hipper all firing towards this cap, so it's probably a very good idea to get turned around and start pulling back, because honestly it's almost frivolous to try to continue capping. And yeah, I don't want to show this broadside to the Tirpitz, but I have to just to get turned. Ooh, big hit there, 10,000 points of damage, and gonna have to slow up just to prevent ourselves from beaching. Now the Tirpitz is going to be our slight nemesis at the moment. He is focused on us. Can we kill this enemy, this other Tirpitz? Few or penetration, but I think he is gonna go down any moment. Fuso is, well, being extremely brave. Now you can see what the enemy team have essentially done. They've all came back together as a team to prevent us from capping. They have actually completely negated any potential on capping, and we do have a friendly New Orleans and a friendly North Carolina back by our base, and it would have been beneficial had they actually pushed in and tried to take some of the pressure off of us. That would have been nice, but unfortunately, or fortunately, I guess in this case, we have actually earned Confederate. And once again, Wargaming, why did you have to give Tirpitz this really long range secondary guns? It's ridiculous. Now, unfortunately, we have lost our Indianapolis, and unfortunately, we are all alone on the northern side, and, well, might as well fire at something I can see. And got some decent amount of damage. Alright, so very serious danger right now. Very serious right now. Tirpitz is now pushing away, and this is kind of how you should be playing the Amagi, especially if you are being chased down by any enemy ships, is kind of angling like this. Kind of how I am. Now, I am going to wait till he shows me more flat broadside, kind of like how it is. Let's see. You can get pretty good damage. As you see, we did about 9k damage. Torpedoes are actually coming, and this is actually a really good tactic whenever you are being chased, to drop torpedoes, because they are going to run into them, and boom. There we go. 10,000 points knocked off this Tirpitz. Now, this Tirpitz is actually getting very low on health, and trying to be careful. You kind of have to play it very cautiously whenever you're being chased by a battleship. Now, If the battleship captain is smart, probably should be switching to either HE or just at least trying to get the superstructure. Now here's the moment. The moment I wish could have gone a lot better. We only get one penetration on that Cleveland and leaves him very, very low on health. 836. New Orleans is trying to take him out. Look at this. 374 points of damage. And this guy is still kicking. And that right there is the turning point of this battle, as you will see. Alright. Constantly being harassed by the Torpedoes. Gonna try the torpedo trick again. We are running out of room quite quickly. Let's see. Nice. Nice. Torpedoes showed way too much broadside and went down. And yep. Alright. So we have a potential winning. There is the enemy Benson in our cap. And let's see. The Key is currently chasing us. And right now the Key is my more dangerous threat. I don't want to show him broadside, which would allow him to possibly do some fairly significant amount of damage. So I'm just going to try to go for speed and try to outdistance myself. Now I have launched my plane in order to possibly hit that Cleveland, but unfortunately no one is spotting that Cleveland. New Orleans has pulled away and is possibly, hopefully, turning back to the base. Now we are in a very tricky situation at the moment. I am in particularly a tricky situation because I still have this Key that is hammering away, and he, as you can see, is quite a bit more health. Now, honestly, maybe I should have just continued firing at the enemy Key, but look at the time. We have about 2 minutes and 46 seconds, and we are ahead in points by about 50 points, 49 points, something like that. So we are in the lead. All that needs to be done is for the Benson to be taken care of. If we can get rid of the Benson, we should have this no problem at all. Now the North Carolina is pushing quite heavily in. Unfortunately, he's just outside my view range, so I can't quite see what his health is like. And this is kind of one thing I would like to have about replays, being able to see the entirety of your team instead of just this limited viewing. Now, the Benson believes they have lost. Yeah, we'll see. Alright, so we have a New Orleans that should be pushing. Honestly, if this New Orleans has radar, I really do hope that he does. Should be spawning that Benson. Now, the North Carolina is being hyper-aggressive right now. Benson's extremely low on health. Look at that, 248. Unfortunately, we lose our North Carolina to the Benson. That has set the enemy team ahead in points. And unfortunately for us, the New Orleans, which, keep in mind, the New Orleans is nearly half health versus a very low health Cleveland. All this New Orleans should be doing right now is focusing the Cleveland down. Take out the enemy Cleveland. Then worry about the Benson. Oh. Alright, so I do open up, hoping to get a shot on this Cleveland. New Orleans is continually chasing the Benson. Cleveland is getting free reign. And honestly, this is what should have happened. That New Orleans should have focused down that Cleveland. 374. 374. One shell hit would have killed this Cleveland. Would not have caused this fire on this New Orleans. Alright, so New Orleans has taken out the enemy Benson, and, well, I hate to say it, goes down to the Cleveland, and New Orleans gets his revenge, but look at that. Just a few moments difference, and we have lost this battle. Now, it would be a miraculous way for us to actually win, but unfortunately it's not going to be the case. Well, I really hate to say it, this was a very close battle, and just those couple of mistakes cost us the game. So unfortunately our team earned a defeat, But look at that amount of credits we received on a defeat. Now, I will have to point out right here and now that I was running both flags on this ship. 1,102,808 silver. Now, I was running the 20% XP increase, and also I think the 50, we can take a look at the end there. Base XP was 4,254. You're in Confederate, Devastating Strike, Dreadnought, High Caliber. We did 182,390 points of damage, 65 shell hits, 1 torpedo hit, 1 plane shot down, 3 kills, and 4 citadels. We were top of the team with a base XP of 1,383. Second was the New Orleans with 4 kills. If only he had focused on taking out the Cleveland first. That right there, I think, probably would have been more beneficial. But unfortunately, I couldn't see the New Orleans, so I can't fault him all too much. It's possible his guns were just turned the wrong way, and the New Orleans guns do take a little bit of time to turn. Alright, so as far as damage is concerned, 53,168 against one of the Turpets, around 23,000 against the Cleveland, around 23,000 against the Edinburgh, 29,000 against the other Turpets, around 19,000 against the Algerie, and around 16,000 against the Fuso. So AP did pretty well, 172,000. Torpedoes did around 10,000. So overall, not too bad. I would have loved to shown you how good the AEA is on the key, but unfortunately did not get a battle with a CV. So as you can see there, as far as the credits, we had, I believe, both the Wyvern flag, the Zulu, and then also the camo itself. The camo designed by Makoto Kabayashi. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that right. My Japanese is quite poor. So yeah, we'll see. But anyways, let's actually take a look at her in the port and look at her in all her glory and her stats. See you guys there. Alright everyone, welcome back to the port, and well, as you guys probably already know, I really do like the key. Now, I had a lot of issues, and that's why I'm actually kind of late to the party as far as releasing a video on the key. I did have kind of a complex issues. So, as you can see, I do have the special camo for the key, and it came down to when I first bought her. I bought the cheapest one, and then I saw this camo, and I fell in love with this camo. And it took a few days to return the previous key and then repurchase the new key with the camo. I think it was key loaded or whatever. And so it took me a little while, and so I uploaded the Queen Elizabeth video instead of doing the key. And now we are finally here. Now I'm currently still in South Dakota. Actually probably on my way back by now, but I'm actually gonna quickly record this before I actually leave. So the key is, well, pretty much very similar to the Amagi in a lot of ways, but there are quite a few differences compared to the Amagi. So let's actually take a look at the stats. Survivability, 68,200. The Amagi has 66,300. So the key has a little bit more health, but the major issue with her is her armor. Her armor is not as good and not as resilient as the key is. Or sorry, as the Amagi is. Down here, if let's actually pull out the Amagi as well, you can see that the Amagi has the slope on her citadels, and they're 102, and especially at the front, it's 152, 229. On the key, it is not that thick, 38 millimeters on the side, 120, and 73 at the very front. So the citadel armor is definitely a lot thinner than the Amagi's, and you do have to take very careful attention to that whenever playing her, because the benefit of the Amagi is she's very difficult to actually citadel via close quarter combat. Like at close quarters, she's very difficult to citadel, while the key not so much. 254 on this armor belt for the Amagi, and the key has 292, but the really big issue is the fact that she has this much thinner citadel on the side. Now, the nice thing about the key is that her Citadel Authorship is a little bit further back than the Amagi's, but once again, the Amagi has a much better armor, able to essentially a turtleback armor, which does prevent being Citadel at a very close range. So you do have to be well aware of that. Her armor is just not as good, but if you play her kind of similar how I was playing her, you should do just fine. Moving on to another thing is the torpedo protection is 27% versus the Amagi's 45%, nearly half as much. So you aren't that resilient whenever being torpedoed, so do be very well aware of that. Moving on to the guns next, let's take a look. Very similar once again. Major difference is the reload time is 31 seconds versus the Amagi's, I believe, 30 seconds, so 1 second slower. Now the Amagi has a 19.9 kilometer range, while the Key has a 19.4 kilometer range. And the AP, you're looking at around 12,600 for the Key, and around 12,600. So damage wise, not that bad, but the range is going to play a factor because the Amagi does have a much better reach than compared to the Key. Now, that's all well and good. Then there is also the fact of her secondaries. Let's actually grab the Key and show off the secondaries. Secondaries are a little bit different. They both fire HE and AP. Max damage is 1700 with a 6% fire chance and a 6.3 kilometer range, while they also will fire AP, obviously. Range is 6.3 kilometers with a 2700 point damage. Now the Amagi, let's quickly grab the Amagi, has 5.5 kilometer range with a 2100 point damage on its secondaries. So the secondaries are all right, but honestly, you're not going to be seeing them all that often. Very, very similar to the Amagi in a lot of ways, but the main difference is the range, and her reload is just a teensy bit slower than the Amagi. Now, torpedoes. Yes, the Key does have torpedoes, and these torpedoes, they're beneficial, but I would definitely say they're nothing like what you would be using in the Tirpitz or the Scharnhorst. Now, the reason why I'm saying this is with the Tirpitz and the Scharnhorst, the torpedoes are actually much in line in the middle of the ship, to where dropping torpedoes is definitely a little bit easier. Now, with it being in the rear, it definitely has to travel a little bit further, especially if you're rushing someone. So they have a more likely chance to dodge your torpedoes than, say, a Tirpitz. They do have a 6 kilometer range, 63 knots, 14,600 points of damage. Fairly quick reload rate, 90 seconds isn't too terrible. So torpedoes are nice. They have, as you did see there, are very beneficial to have, especially if you're being chased down by, say, a enemy Tirpitz or Bismarck. So be well aware that you can use your torpedoes, but they're just not something you want to be using all too often. Now, if they were like, say, 10 kilometer range like a Japanese cruiser has, then yeah, that would be really super scary. Now, moving on to probably the next best thing about the Key. Her AA is phenomenal. Rating is 92. Now, keep in mind, this is actually my Yamato captain, which does have some of the captain skills necessary for AA mounts. You have 17 triple 25 millimeters. They have an average damage of 114 with 3.7 kilometer range. Then you have 16 dual 40 millimeters. Average damage is 194 with 4.2 kilometer range. And then your secondaries also operate additional AA, 183 with a 6 kilometer range. Now, compared to the Amagi's, it's definitely a little bit less. As far as damage wise, is definitely not that great. Mid-range is probably its greatest asset. There are a little bit more on the Amagi, but as far as damage, the Key definitely has much better AA than the Amagi. So very, very similar. I would almost say comparable to the North Carolina and Iowa in a lot of ways. Moving on to maneuverability. pretty quick. Once again, she's a battle cruiser. She moves very quick, 29.5. My Amagi can get up to about 30 knots. Turn circle radius is 880 meters with a rudder shift time of 15.9 seconds. Now the Amagi has a better rudder shift time at 13.9 seconds and a much tighter turning circle radius at 870, only by about 10 meters, so it's not that great. Concealment 13.4 versus the Amagi's 13. So Key's a little bit better as far as detection is concerned, and also she has a much shorter range compared to the Amagi. So you do have to take care whenever you are pushing in. And Amagi can outspot you, so just be careful. You should do fine. Just try to team up. But once again, I really do like the Key, and I really do like this camo. This camo is just glorious. I love it. Alright, as far as what build, I have actually started switching over to spawning aircraft. This just allows you to get that additional range, but also shooting at ships and smoke. Very similar to my Amagi in a lot of ways. You could definitely buff her AA, but her A is pretty good just as is. So if you want a full AA build, go for the AA mod 2. But honestly, I just like having better guns because you don't always get to see aircrafts every single time. Captain wise, probably builder a little bit different than what my Yamato is. I definitely want to go back and redo this. Priority target, I'm such a big fan of this. Getting expert marksman, adrenaline rush is nice. Superintendent just for that additional heal. You can buff your AA for the range for advanced firing training and concealment expert. You could easily go for basics firing training if you want better AA, or even jack of all trade or fire prevention. So very similar battleship build, but honestly, I love the Key. This is probably my best birthday present I've got in a while. So really do enjoy the Key a lot. So anyways, thank you guys so much for watching, and if you liked what you saw, hit the like and subscribe button. You guys have a great and fantastic day. Zaijian.